Caroline, just like I predicted, my mother had the entire room searched for any clues on what happened the night before. I didn't get a chance to get rid of the nightgown, and they had found it. Samples of the blood had already been taken to the lab. Everything was happening quickly, and I was terrified of what would come. Someone was in my daughter's room last night, she shouts at the guards. Were you doing your jobs? We were in her office, and she paced up and down the room, trying to determine exactly what had happened. She asked me 1,000,000 times, but I refused to give her an answer. Eventually, she would know the truth. I was buying myself some time. Cassius will not arrive until later tonight. Maybe if he had an idea of what was happening, he would come for me. I paused to think about that thought for a second. Had I lost my mind? Why would he ever come here to save me from my mother? He didn't care about me that much. However, he did say some things last night that made me hope that there was a chance his caring side was returning because of me. It was insane that he was my only hope now. I needed him to take me away like he did that last time. There was no one else here who would help me once they found out what I'd done with him last night. Not even my sisters would take my side. They would all say that I betrayed them and the world for a monster. I had to stay strong. I couldn't let this stop me from doing what I knew I had to in order to save my mate. To me, he wasn't a monster. To me, he was a man that was lost and needed saving. He was also someone that I was falling deeply in love with. Every second, every day, every chance that I got to be with him made me incredibly happy. My feelings were valid, and I didn't need my mother or anyone else to tell me otherwise. The world would know the truth one day. It didn't matter that everyone would turn their backs on me. I would do everything in my power to protect Cassius from the darkness and even the people who wanted him dead. I am asking you once more, Caroline, who entered your room last night? She demanded. Her anger increased with each passing hour, and I refused to tell her the truth. Once more, I refused to give her an answer. I wince as she slams some books onto the ground. All of a sudden, my daughter doesn't know how to speak, she shouts. I cannot recognize her. That monster did something to her. I know it. He messed with her. She isn't herself anymore. More guards entered the room, and I knew for a fact that they didn't see Cassius. No one would have seen him because he teleported straight into my room. We patrolled the entire night, they assure my mother. If anyone entered our premises last night, we would have seen them. If you are positive that someone was in your daughter's room last night, then there is only one logical explanation. My mother narrows her eyes. And what is that? I think she already knew the answer, but she wanted to hear it from someone else's perspective. There is only one person we know that can show up here without alerting anyone. He answers her. Cassius Reign. Everyone in the room says his name as they turn to look at me. There are some shocked looks, some faces filled with disbelief, and others with anger. I'm not surprised when some of the guards look at me with disgust. No one would understand me or the way that he made me feel. I didn't care about any of that. It didn't matter to me what these people thought of me. They didn't know what was going on in my heart. They had no clue what they were up against, or that my plan was the only way to save them all. My mother turns to me, and there is a new expression on her face, one I've never seen on her before. She was looking at me as though I was also a monster. Did you have that monster in your room? She asks, and I can hear the outrage in her voice. There was no use trying to hide it. They already knew the truth, but were waiting for me to confirm. Caroline! She roars just as my sisters enter the room. She must have called them to witness. Yes, I answer her. Cassius was in my room last night. Caroline. There is a deadly silence that follows after my words. Even though they all had an idea about what happened, no one really expected me to admit to it. It felt as though the entire room was holding its breath, waiting for someone to break the silence. Besides, my confession made them all realize that Cassius could come and go as he pleased. All this time, we all thought that he would be too afraid to go to a place where he knew people were waiting to kill him. Even I was convinced that he wouldn't show up here because of the risk until he popped up into my room last night. My sisters also looked dismayed to hear me admit something like that. I wanted to include them more in my life, but knew that I couldn't right now. There wasn't anyone who cared about me and would support this. Everyone was too petrified about Cassius to even entertain the thought of me having feelings for him. "How could you do something like that, Caroline?" My mother asks me in a devastating tone. "After everything I've taught you, after all of the sacrifices our people have made, how can you stab all of us in the back for a psychopath that would kill you in a heartbeat?" She didn't know that. She assumed that Cassius would harm me, but so far he has done nothing even close to that. "I did not betray anyone," I assure her. "Cassius isn't as bad as everyone thinks. The darkness is responsible for his behavior, and since he never had someone to guide him in the right direction and show him love, he gave in to it. I know that I can help him to be a better person. Once I'm given enough time to do so, I can protect everyone here and in the entire world from his wrath. I just need a little more time to do so." I knew telling them this would not make sense since they would not consider listening to me. However, I was not prepared when the room erupted into laughter. Some of our people were even doubled over, trying to control themselves. "What did I say that was so funny? This has to be some kind of joke." Rebecca, one of the women who has always worked alongside my mother, says, "Your daughter has to be messing around. There is no way that any of this can be true. She has to be pulling a prank on all of us." While everyone continued to laugh, I could see the embarrassment on my mother's face. She knew this was not a joke to me. She knew I meant every word I said. What none of these people understood was that we were mates. If they knew the truth, they would realize how serious I was about everything. "Did you really have Cassius in that room with you?" Rebecca asks me for confirmation, still not believing a word. "We all know that he doesn't step into territories like ours without proper backup. It is unlike him to take such a big risk. I do not believe for a second that you are telling the truth." I fold my arms as I glare at her. Whether you choose to believe me or not is of no concern to me. I'm not joking or playing a prank on any of you. He was in my room last night. I didn't want to say that he would most likely show up tonight either. They didn't need to know that little detail. If they did, they would surely prepare a trap for him, and that was the last thing I wanted. "Why would he be in your room?" she asks me. "What did he want from you?" I try not to become shy because of that question. I was not about to tell all these people in this room that Cassius came back for a taste of me. "I do not have to answer any of your questions." I snap. "You have lost your damn mind." My mother shouts. "I am convinced that he messed with your brain. He must have done something to you. You are not the same daughter that I remember." "I have changed because I have been lied to my entire life," I shout. "That kind of information would change any person. I now know things that I should have known a long time ago." I could see my mother's vision becoming clouded with rage. She was trying hard to hold it together, but I was not making it easy on her. I didn't plan on backing down. I planned to protect him from everyone here. I continue. "Cassius Reign deserves a second chance just like any other person." The room fell silent once more, the only sound being the faint ticking of the old clock on the wall. As I glanced around, I couldn't help but notice the vicious glares that were directed my way. The disappointment in their eyes was noticeable, and it weighed heavily on my shoulders. I try not to be affected by it. I knew this would be their reactions. It was nothing I didn't already expect. As my heart raced, I watched in disbelief as my mother closed the distance between us. Time seemed to slow down as she lifted her hand, her expression a mix of anger and frustration. I braced myself, but the sharp sting of her hand against my face still caught me off guard. I couldn't believe it. She just slapped me in front of everyone. "Caroline!" The silence in the room was deafening from my mother's slap. No one here could believe she'd actually hit me. "Mother," Winter gasps. "Please let us all take some time to think about this." Willow cuts in as well. "I'm sure there is a logical explanation for all of this. We should at least hear everything that Caroline is trying to tell us." They were trying to protect me. I knew that much. However, there was nothing they could do to stop what was happening. I had openly betrayed our people by choosing to protect Cassius. I was supposed to put them first above everyone else, but I was choosing the same person that they all were terrified of. Even if my mother wanted to protect me, I knew that she couldn't. I was also aware that she would have to put her feelings aside for the sake of everyone else. She had to act like a good leader and not become soft because of her own daughter. She was always good at it. I didn't expect her to have a difficult time now. Enough. She shouts to stop my sisters from interfering. Your sister has completely lost her mind and must be punished for her actions. I knew that no one here would try to kill me. If anything happened to me, they knew there was no chance of getting rid of Cassius. There wasn't anyone present here who was that stupid. However, that would not stop them from punishing me in the most horrible ways possible. What do you have planned? Rebecca asks her. There are many ways that she can be punished and hopefully be brought to her senses again. I can see Winter's horrified look as she waited for our mother to answer. Everyone here can each list a punishment that they see fit, she announces. Then we will have a vote on each. Whichever punishment gets the most votes will be used on my daughter. Today, she will learn her lesson and hopefully be reminded about her duties to us and the entire world. If they thought a simple punishment could get me to change my mind, they were all delusional. There was nothing that they could do to possibly make me think or act differently. I was still hoping that Cassius would show up in time and take me away from here. I could even use this to my advantage. If he saw what they were doing to me, then hopefully he would take me back to his castle, away from everyone. Once again, I knew I was hoping for a miracle. Cassius wasn't the type of person to help anyone without a good enough reason. He didn't do anything unless it benefited him in return. I looked around me as everyone in the room devised ideas to punish me. All that was left now was for each of them to vote. I couldn't believe this was happening. Everyone here was once my friend, people I trusted and who were on my side. Things were much different now. Cassius. I felt restless in my chest. I've never had someone to worry about other than my sisters. However, for some reason, I couldn't get Caroline out of my mind, and this time, it had nothing to do with wanting to taste her again. Ever since I saw the way her mother treated her, I kept worrying about her well-being. I didn't trust her mother around her. Now that Caroline was intimate with me, I knew that her family would have a negative reaction if they ever found out. Focus, Cassius. Focus on your own life and stop worrying about that woman. Even though I was trying to talk myself out of it, I knew damn well that in a few minutes, I would be teleporting into her room to check in on her. It wasn't even that late, which meant that everyone would be awake. It also meant that I could get caught quite easily. I definitely was not getting any better at controlling myself. My jaw clenched. I should have just kept her with me. That was much easier than worrying about her when she was not around. Standing in front of the bathroom mirror, I reached for the glass and splashed some water over my face. Droplets trickled down, carrying away the remnants of a long day. I gaze into the mirror, and for the first time, I notice how much my eyes have changed. They seem to have transformed into a lighter shade of silver, reflecting an unease that I have never seen before. It's as if they belonged to someone else, a stranger staring back at me. This was what Caroline did to me. I angrily punched the glass and stared at myself through the broken pieces. I had to see her again. Caroline. My mother had everyone convinced that I was under a spell by Cassius. She was okay with them believing something like that instead of letting them know that I was his mate and would obviously have uncontrollable feelings for him. They had me locked up in a room, not a cell. However, I was afraid of what they were planning as my punishment. Whatever it was, I knew that it would be painful. They've kept me locked up in here for hours, and I knew by now the voting had to be completed. I wasn't sure what else was taking them this long, but the anticipation was killing me. I knew that it would all be worth it in the end. No one here wanted to support me in my mission to save Cassius, and I wouldn't let that discourage me from doing what needed to be done. The door opened suddenly, and I felt my heartbeat increase. I expected to see my mother at the door, but instead, Rebecca was the one waiting for me. She still had that disgusted look on her face as she grabbed me by my arm and pulled me out of the room. "It is your time to shine, Caroline," she tells me, You are now a traitor and need to return to your senses. This is the only way that it can be done. What are you talking about? I demand. What have all of you decided my punishment to be? She doesn't answer me, as she continues to pull me along with her. I can see the other guards waiting for me. They were treating me as though I would try to kill them all. Why did I need to be surrounded by so many of them? When have I ever tried to hurt a single person here? Are you not going to tell me? I ask Rebecca once more. What will my punishment be? She looks annoyed and hands me over to the other guards. You will soon find out for yourself. I don't need to tell you. She was once someone who treated me like a daughter. She never once disrespected me. Now, she was speaking to me like I was a prisoner. I've never been this scorned before. It was insane to me how quickly the people around you could turn their backs on you if you didn't follow the rules. It was a strange feeling of betrayal that left a bitter taste in my mouth. They were once the only family that I knew. It felt like I had lost them all in the blink of an eye. As the guards pushed me into the backyard, right behind my room, I tried to ignore the many disdained looks sent my way. The only people that were worried about me were my sisters. Everyone else felt like I deserved this punishment. I still had no clue what it was going to be. However, I had to mentally prepare myself for the pain. The first thing I noticed was the stage set up in the middle of the garden. There was a chair at the center of the stage. Since the guards were leading me directly to that area, it would seem as though the chair was placed there for me. Everyone had already taken their seats on the laid-out seats, so apparently my punishment was a spectacle for everyone to see. You still have a chance to stop this, my mother offers me as she greets me at the edge of the stage. All you need to do is apologize and tell everyone that you made a mistake. Then promise us that you will never choose to protect a beast like that damn Reign again. I bit my lip before I whispered low enough for only her to hear. I am sorry, Mother. I am not going to change my decision on this. I am ready for whatever punishment you have in store for me. Her hands tightened at her sides into fists, her knuckles turning white from the force. I could see the rage in her eyes as she glared at me, her pupils narrowing into fiery slits. It was as if she couldn't believe that I wasn't listening to a single word that she had poured her heart into saying. The punishment is about to begin, she announces to the crowd. I can see the excitement on some of their faces. This was entertainment for them. The same people that once praised me were pumped up to see me punished for caring for their enemy. The guards shoved me into the waiting chair. I expected pain to shoot throughout my body right away, but nothing happened. So then, what exactly was the punishment? Bring the helmet, my mother orders Rebecca, who proudly holds a clear helmet in her hands. I knew right away what the punishment was. They have never used it on anyone else before. As far as I knew, they were saving it to use on Cassius. They must have decided to try it out on me first. It was supposed to bring immense pain once placed on your head, something similar to electrocution. We hope that the pain this brings you will somehow get rid of the spell Cassius has you under. Then maybe you will be able to act like yourself once more. Rebecca says. We are sorry it came down to this, Caroline, but you left us no other choice. Cassius! The instant I teleported into Caroline's room, I could immediately tell that she was not around. I knew it was much earlier than I usually came to spy on her, but I was still not happy that she wasn't in her room. I was desperate to see her, even though I hated to admit it. I still take a walk into her bathroom, feeling the cold tiles under my feet as I needed to confirm that she wasn't here. I frowned when I noticed that everything was ransacked, drawers pulled out, contents strewn across the floor, and shattered glass from a broken mirror. What the hell happened in here? It wasn't like this when I left because of those foolish guards flashing their lights into her room. Even the bins were completely emptied onto the floor. The more I scanned the bathroom, the more the pressure increased in my chest. Something was not right. Maybe my earlier intuition was correct. Something had happened to Caroline. I don't even think twice as I barge out of her room and into the corridor. After walking for a few minutes, I realized that no one was around. There weren't even any guards stationed anywhere. What the f***? Why was the entire place empty? Where the hell was everyone? I was about to track Caroline when I heard some commotion outside. I rushed to a nearby window and realized where everyone was. They were all in the garden facing something. Whatever it was, it had their full attention. Maybe Caroline was out there with them as well. Was I worrying for nothing? There was still this uncomfortable feeling in my chest, urging me to still try and find her. Fuck, I growl. I didn't want to show myself so soon, but damn it. I needed to know that she was okay and put my mind at ease. On the other hand, this was a good time to take a look around their home and find out what exactly they were planning on using against me. It would be a great opportunity. I knew they wanted me dead and would most likely have a lot of gadgets that they planned on using to help trap me. I run a hand down my face in frustration. Even though I knew the right thing for me was to look around and take advantage of this situation, I couldn't do it. I had to make sure that Caroline was okay before I could focus on doing anything else. I felt like I had lost all control over my own body, and she was the reason for it all. She had done this to me. That damn birthmark was to blame. I angrily teleported out of the house and into the garden, staying hidden behind a tree. "This is your last chance," I hear someone shout. "Apologize, or the torture begins now." They were in the middle of torturing someone. Was it one of their own, or was it possible that it was someone they thought was siding with me? I searched the crowd for any sign of Caroline. I narrow my eyes when I spot her sisters. Their puffy red eyes and tear-streaked cheeks immediately catch my attention. It's clear that they've been crying for a while now, and the worry etched on their faces is hard to miss. They are clutching each other's hands tightly, seeking comfort and support in their shared distress. What exactly was happening out here? My jaw clenched, and my hands tightened into fists at my side, the tension coursing through my body as I followed their gazes. Part of me already knew what to expect, and I could feel the knot of anticipation in my stomach as I held my breath, bracing myself for whatever was about to unfold. It takes me a few seconds to take in what I saw next. All of the blood drains from my face when I see Caroline at the center of the stage with something over her head. I don't have time to process anything when her piercing scream cuts straight through my heart. What the f*** were those assholes doing to her? My eyes scanned everyone. Everything was happening so quickly, and I didn't know what to do to stop it. That thing on her head must be causing her this pain. They were torturing her. They were torturing my woman. How could they all watch while she screamed like that? Those bastards. I reach out with my hands, and the darkness shoots out of me within seconds and shatters the object that was causing her pain. There were screams all around her. Everyone was surprised to see it be destroyed. "What the hell happened?" I hear one of the women ask. I don't waste a single second as I teleport onto the stage, making myself known to everyone present. "Caroline." The pain stopped out of nowhere. One minute I was screaming from how much it hurt, and the next I felt nothing. I could feel blood leaking down my nose. I felt pain before, but this was awful. I couldn't believe this was built just to hurt Cassius. Part of me was relieved that I was the one they tried it on, not him. I knew he was powerful, but I still didn't like the idea of him being in pain, especially not because of the people I loved. The crowd erupted in uproar as the helmet shattered into pieces in front of us. My eyes were wide when I recognized the darkness surrounding me. I would know it anywhere. I had to be hallucinating. I knew that the entire time I was hoping that Cassius would swoop in and save me like a knight in shining armor, but not once did I ever believe that it would happen. "What the hell is going on?" I hear multiple women scream. "Something is wrong," Rebecca says. "That wasn't supposed to shatter like that. We have spent years creating it." I scan around me, looking for Cassius, waiting for him to show himself. I'm not prepared for when he actually does. My lips parted slightly when I saw his tall frame in front of me. He was blocking my view from everyone else. I can see the shocked, terrified looks on my people's faces. Their eyes widened in disbelief as they processed the unexpected arrival of him in our midst. They never anticipated his presence here at this time, and definitely not for my sake. I wasn't even sure if he was here because of me or for another reason. "Monster," someone gasps in the crowd. I couldn't see the expression on his face since his back was facing me. I still didn't like that they referred to him as a monster. I felt chills down my spine when he finally turned around to look me in the eyes. His eyes slowly scanned my body from head to toe, taking in every inch of me. It seemed as though he was checking for bruises on my body, his eyes eventually zeroing in on the blood leaking down my nose. His gaze immediately hardened, and I don't think I've ever seen him look scarier. To me, it wasn't that scary since I was used to him by now, but I could imagine how he would look to everyone else here. The crowd hushes to complete silence, every footstep of his drawing out an echoing anticipation as he approaches me. Each step leaves a subtle yet impactful impression, building an aura of suspense with every move he makes. I've never seen someone gain so much attention just by walking, but this was Cassius Reign. Even though everyone here was trained to kill him, they were all still terrified of what he could do with a snap of a finger. They knew that they didn't stand a chance to harm him without my help, and since they were just supporting my punishment, I was positive that they knew I would not try to help them if they decided to fight him. I stayed completely still when he reached out with one of his fingers and gently wiped the blood away from my face. I can hardly breathe as he continues to rub his finger against my skin until there is no more blood left to remove. If I thought my heart couldn't melt more for this man, I was completely wrong. If there was any doubt in my mind that I was doing the right thing by trying to save him, it was gone after today. "You came," I whisper, unable to say anything else. His clenched jaw and furrowed brow revealed the depth of his anger as he remained silent, his eyes still smoldering with an intense and brooding fury. "Someone get that monster away from my daughter!" My mother screams at the top of her lungs. Even though she said those words, no one moved a muscle. I didn't think anyone here was stupid enough to try and do anything now. I could already see a few of them trembling in fear, but he wasn't even looking directly at any of them. "They hurt you," he growls, and I can hear the wrath in his voice. I didn't think that them hurting me would affect him this much. Maybe there was a chance that my plan was already working. I didn't answer him. It was already evident that they had tried to torture me and would have succeeded had he not shown up in time. His gaze narrows as one of the guards attempts to step towards us. My eyes widen when darkness shoots out of Cassius and heads straight for him. "No!" "Cassius!" The darkness within me shoots out of my hands and attacks a guard heading our way. It was a warning to the others to stay back or be killed by the snap of my fingers. Caroline immediately rushes forward and touches my shoulder. "Please don't hurt them. They are still my family." I narrow my eyes. These people happily watched while you screamed. They enjoyed your punishment, yet you still choose to protect them? She nods, and the second I see tears forming in her eyes, I mumble a few curses under my breath. She was determined to keep them safe, even though they didn't deserve it after what they'd just done. She was nothing like me. I could never still love anyone who betrayed me or enjoyed punishing me. Caroline was much different than anyone I knew. It pained me that I couldn't do anything at all. I wanted to kill every single person here, but couldn't, as long as she was here. I knew she would never forgive me if I did such a thing. Before I could change my mind, I quickly wrapped my arms around her and teleported out of her home before anyone could try and stop me. I might regret taking her back home with me, but I didn't trust those people. After what I witnessed, I knew I couldn't just leave her with them. I would never be able to rest peacefully if I knew that she wasn't safe. The second I reached back at the castle, I put some distance between the two of us. I expected her to be outraged for taking her away from her family once more, but I was surprised to see the relief on her face. Was it possible that she was telling the truth this entire time when she told me that she preferred to stay by my side? "What did you do to be punished so severely?" I asked her. I wasn't sure what had happened before Caroline was placed on that stage. Whatever she had done, it must have been pretty bad for them to want to harm the person they needed in order to kill me. She looked away from my piercing gaze, and it made me angrier. This was not the time for her to try to lie to me or be silent. I needed to know their reason for doing this. Part of me felt like I was at fault, and maybe that's why I was so desperate for her to answer. I didn't want to be the reason Caroline had to go through such pain. As far as I knew, I was cautious when entering her room. I didn't think that anyone saw me leaving, but the fact that her room was in such a mess, as if they had been searching for evidence that I was there, made me think that I truly was at fault. If that were the case, I knew I would never forgive myself for letting something that horrible happen to her. "Tell me, Caroline," I growl, "why did those assholes torture you like that? If they are truly your family and friends, what could you have possibly done to deserve what they did to you?" She turns around and pretends to be looking at the paintings on the wall. "These are beautiful," she whispers. "I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before." "Caroline," I grit out, "why are you avoiding my question?" She'd only been here a few minutes, but already she was getting on my nerves. "Because I do not wish to answer your question," she yells. I grabbed her by her shoulders and spun her around so that we were face to face once more. "Let me remind you of my rules. You will do as I say as long as you are in my territory. Right now, I want to know the truth. If you don't tell me, I will be forced to go back there and find out on my own. It took a lot out of me not to kill them all before. I can't promise you that I will spare them for a second time." I was satisfied when my threat seemed to frighten her to the point that I knew she would no longer withhold any information from me. She looks nervous as she says, "My mother saw blood on the sheets, which I knew right away belonged to you since it couldn't be my blood. When you came into my room, I didn't think that there were any bruises on you. I wasn't expecting there to be blood on my sheets or on my body the next day. I had no choice but to confess that the blood belonged to you since no guards had seen anyone entering or leaving my room. They were already suspicious that it was you since no one else is capable of appearing and disappearing as easily as you do." My jaw clenched. So it was me. I was the reason this happened to her. Autumn Fawn. There was chaos at Caroline's home. The Ravens were going insane with what just transpired. Willow had called Dante over for support, and in turn he had asked us to join him. I always felt uncomfortable at their residence since they were practically trained to kill my siblings and me. While I knew that they wouldn't try harming us as long as Willow fought for our protection, I still had my doubts about them. For one, Willow's mother always gave me nasty glares, as though she believed I was some sort of monster. Of course, she did the same to Clarissa as well. I couldn't believe Cassius had actually shown up in their territory. But ever since Caroline wrote that letter and informed us that our brother was her mate, everything was coming together. I knew what it felt like to have a mate, someone that would make you do crazy things. However, I was convinced at a point that Cassius wouldn't be lucky enough to feel that kind of pleasure and happiness. I was glad that Caroline was there for him in ways that none of us ever could be. With her help, maybe our brother will be a good person again. That monster came into my territory and took my daughter with him. Willow's mother cries. Ever since he took her the first time, she has completely changed. I cannot recognize my own daughter, and now that he has taken her again, there is no telling what will happen. No one here seemed to know that Caroline and my brother were mates, which meant that she most likely wanted to keep it a secret for now. That meant that I couldn't say a single thing to any of these people. "I can't believe he came here and took her away," Clarissa whispers. "He must have already developed strong feelings for her." I nod in agreement. I think our brother might be falling in love. We both look at each other and smile. It was exactly what we wanted to happen. That was one of the scariest experiences of my life. One of the women says as she looks completely traumatized from the events of today, "I still don't understand why he left without hurting anyone." Another one pitches in. "He looked like he wanted to kill us all. I've never seen such darkness in a man's eyes before. He probably truly wanted to kill them all, but only because they had harmed his mate." No one here seemed to know that Cassius only came to protect Caroline. They all thought it was some scheme of his to frighten them to the point that they gave up before the war even started. "Are you seeing those nasty glares?" Clarissa asks me. "I don't think coming here was such a good idea." I sigh. They are simply afraid and do not trust us. We need to show them that we mean no harm. We can prevent the war from happening. Clarissa doesn't look convinced. These people are not willing to give our brother a chance to change for the better. They were willing to harm their own simply because she chose to protect him. I don't think there is anything we can do to change their minds. I knew that she had a point, but I didn't want to give up without trying. If Caroline felt like there was a chance for everything to work out, I wanted to believe her. After all, she was the only person willing to see the good in my brother. Everyone else saw him as a monster, but she didn't. I will forever be grateful for her, and she will always have my full support. Cassius was lucky to have her as his mate. I only hoped that she could realize his luck in time before he lost her for good. I took another scan around the room. Everyone here looked extremely shaken up. Cassius barely hurt anyone except one of their guards, and they were acting like he had tried to kill them all. How would they react if he actually did mass destruction? What happened here was the best outcome possible after an encounter with my brother. It could have been 100 times worse than this. We need to find my daughter. Caroline's mom shouts. I don't care what you have to do. Find her and bring her back home to me. Did she want to bring her back home to punish her some more? They were treating her much worse than Cassius was, and somehow they thought that he was the monster. In reality, they were acting like the actual monsters. She didn't do anything wrong to be treated so unfairly by the people that she trusted. I was happy that Cassius had taken her. I knew she would be better off with him. Caroline. I kept replaying everything in my head. I couldn't believe that Cassius had saved me in front of everyone. Why would he do something like that? Why would he take such a big risk for me? There was only one logical explanation. My plan had to be working. He was getting closer to becoming a normal person, minus the fact that he was the son of Cassius Reign, the most dangerous sorcerer to walk our planet. He would never actually be normal, but he could be as close to it as possible for someone with power like his. I still felt hurt by my family's betrayal, but I didn't blame them for their actions. I knew that they were simply scared and acting out because of it. None of them had feelings for Cassius, and because of that, they didn't believe that he could be better. It was up to me to show them that I could change him. I was happy that he brought me back home with him. Now that I was here, I could work on getting even closer to him. He'd left the room a few minutes ago, but before that, he'd made sure to check my body for any bruises. My nose still had some bleeding, but it was nothing too crazy. My family had been working on that gadget for years. They wanted to harm him with it, but he was able to destroy it within seconds. I knew that it must bother them to know that it truly stood no chance against him. My sisters and I were their only chances of putting any sort of damage on him. I sigh. I wish things didn't have to be so complicated. There was still a chance that Cassius would go ahead with his plan, but nothing was guaranteed yet. The darkness within him could take a completely different turn. I was just happy that so far, I was able to prevent him from killing anyone. I knew if I didn't stop him earlier, there would be multiple deaths at my home. My gaze moves to the door when I hear footsteps. Cassius slowly walks inside with what seems to be medicine in his hands. He must have brought it to clean what was left of the blood inside my nose. "Why are you taking care of me?" I ask him quietly. I knew I wouldn't get him to confess any feelings for me, but I still wanted to have this conversation with him. He looks surprised by my question, as if he doesn't even know how to answer it or understand why he's doing it. After some time has passed, he says, "I feel sorry for you." "Sorry for me? Why?" I ask as he brings the cotton to my nose. "What reason do you have to feel sorry for me?" His eyes are dark as if he remembers something. He answers, "Your own family turned their back on you. After years of being loyal to them, they have betrayed you. My father experienced the same kind of betrayal when my mother chose to kill him instead of giving him a chance. He was convinced that his mother was the villain in this story, when everyone knew that she was the reason plenty of us were alive today." The darkness was filling Cassius's head with lies so that it could overcome him and take control. I had to try my best to make him see that his mother was only trying to protect him and his sisters. I was sure she'd told him this already, but he didn't want to hear her. Maybe if I tried, he would at least listen to what I had to say. I admit that it was painful to see my family choose to turn their backs on me because of a decision that I made, I confess. However, you do not need to feel sorry for me. I know that they may be acting out right now, but eventually, they will come around. They just need to understand my point of view on everything. I know that it will take a while for them to come to terms with my decisions, but eventually, they will support me. He didn't look convinced by my words, but I didn't care if he believed me or not. You still have a lot of faith in them. He growls as his hands tighten around the glass cup he is holding. I'm surprised that it doesn't shatter into a million pieces from the force. I don't want to speak about that anymore, I tell him. There is something that I wish to ask of you, and I hope that you will be able to give it to me. He frowns. What is that? I can hear the curiosity in his voice. I swallow hard. Here goes nothing. Can you sleep with me tonight? Cassius. Did I just hear her correctly? What did you say? I'm surprised by how hoarse my voice sounded to my ear. It was difficult to recognize my own voice. I want you to sleep with me tonight. She repeats herself for my sake. Before you think I'm crazy, I just want you to stay in the same bed with me. She adds when I remain silent because of her insane request. My jaw clenched. This woman was determined to drive me insane. There was no one else who could bring about such strong reactions inside of me. Women have asked in the past for me to f them, but this was different. She was asking for me to sleep with her. I was still shocked that those words had come out of her mouth. This was simply just lying next to her on the bed, but still, it made me lose my mind. If I spent another night holding her in my arms or simply laying right next to her, there is no telling if I would be able to control myself. She was too tempting and dangerous for me to consider doing this for her. And why the f would I even consider something like that? I didn't fulfill requests for anyone. Why would I do it for someone who is trained to kill me? That simply wasn't something I would do. But still, her taste lingered in my mouth and made me want to do things just to have a taste of her again. I've never been this obsessed over the taste of a woman in my entire life. She was changing everything for me. I knew that I couldn't allow myself to ever get so close to her that I forgot all about my plans to take over the world and finish what my father started. And that was the main reason I had to say no tonight. But still, I was curious to find out her reason for asking this. There must be a logical explanation for this. A woman like her would not ask for something like that unless it would benefit her in some way. Why? I ask her. Why are you asking for that? She sighed and could barely look me in the eyes as she whispered, I'm still a bit traumatized from earlier. Like you said, I was betrayed by my own family. I don't think I will be able to sleep on my own tonight. That is why I'm asking you to stay with me. Did she think we were somehow lovers or friends? Why the f would I do something like that to make her more comfortable? It was true that I saved her from her own family earlier, but that was more than enough. I didn't need to do anything else. The fact that she felt it okay to ask for such a thing from me only meant that I'd been too gentle with her. She no longer feared me, but had she ever feared me at all in the past? I have better things to do, I growl. I'm annoyed when her disappointed and hurt expression causes my heart to squeeze almost painfully. Damn it. I was still not overjoyed with these strange feelings that followed me around because of this bloody woman. She opens her mouth to say something, but I raise my hand to stop her. I've had enough for one day and was not willing to let myself be pulled into this mess right now. I storm out of the room before she can say something else that makes me drop to the ground and follow her around like a fool. I made it out of her door safely, but could not force my feet to keep on moving. I leaned up against the wall, unable to go far. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay in there with her. I missed the smell of her skin, the softness of her touch, and having her in my home too much to just walk away from her. I hoped she couldn't tell I was right outside her door, though I was breathing pretty hard and would be surprised if she couldn't hear me. I dropped down onto the floor and hung my head in defeat. I knew damn well that there was no force in this universe that could stop me from re-entering that room and fulfilling her request, even though I turned her down just a minute ago. What was happening to me? Since when did I become so weak? This was all the Raven's fault. She knew exactly what she was doing to me, and like a fool I was doing nothing to stop her. Lydia. I was not happy that another woman had suddenly entered Cassius's life. I had been trying for years to get closer to that man, who was my ticket to getting everything I ever wanted. Once I had him under my control, I would be unstoppable. Cassius Reign belonged to me and no one else. I didn't care that this new woman was his mate. She would not be strong enough to stop me from getting what was rightfully mine. She'd only just entered his life, but I had been sleeping with him for months now. It took me a while to get that close to him, and I was not about to let her take my place. Ever since she entered the picture, the man has not touched me once. After speaking to all the other women that I knew he was I found out that he hadn't messed around with any of them either. This meant that she was satisfying all his needs, and he wasn't trying to hook up with anyone else because of her. Sleeping with him to gain his trust was no longer an option. It was quite evident that she was the only one he wanted to be intimate with. I had to use another strategy. Because of her, he now had a weakness. She was his weakness, and there was only one way to use her against him. I would have no choice but to kidnap her. However, since she was in that castle with him, it wouldn't be that easy to just snatch her. I would have to wait for a time that he was not home. I would never be able to lay a finger on her as long as he was around. I didn't want to wait forever. I had to start planning. "How is the potion coming along?" I asked one of the witches that worked for me. "Good so far," she answers me, "but we will need more time for sure. It is not ready yet to be used on him. Besides, I think it's a good idea to try it on someone else first. That way we can make sure that it works before we cause trouble for ourselves." I knew what she meant. If I used the potion on Cassius and it didn't work, he would kill me on the spot for trying something like that on him. It was a love potion, one that would get him to do anything I wanted. It wouldn't hurt to try to potion on a few other men and see if they would be obsessed with me as well. I already had a few hair samples from Cassius. I'd managed to get them from his castle without him suspecting anything. I was sure I would have gotten caught, but the foolish man was so sure that he had everything under control that he didn't even realize that I was plotting against him. Of course, I wouldn't need to go through all those measures if he'd just fall in love with me. However, he was heartless, one of the most cruel men that I knew. But things were different now that his mate was in the picture. He had no choice but to feel things for her, even if he didn't want to. At first, I was pissed that she existed. However, even though I was a bit jealous that there was a woman on this earth that the great Cassius Reign wanted to protect, I was also glad to know that he was no longer invincible. Because of her, I could finally get what I've always wanted from him. She was turning out to be exactly what I needed, a blessing in disguise. "You need to hurry," I tell her. "I want everyone working on that potion day and night. Do not waste even a second." She nods. "We will get it done in time, I promise." I grab her by the chin. "Your promises mean nothing to me. I want to see the work. Words and actions are two completely different things." She trembles in fear. "I am working as hard as I possibly can." "Well, try harder," I warn her. In the meantime, I needed to come up with a plan to get Cassius out of that castle long enough so that I could kidnap the girl. I knew that other than his mate, his sisters were also important to him. Without them, he couldn't take over the world and finish what his father started. I may need to use them in order to get him to leave his castle. If he felt like his sisters' lives were in danger, he would no doubt rush to rescue them. I smiled wickedly as I thought about ways to frighten them all. Things were already looking bright. Soon enough, I would have Cassius under my control. "Caroline." I'm pretending to be asleep when the door opens, and Cassius makes his presence known by his loud footsteps. I'm surprised that he's back in the room after he turned me down like an hour ago. He made it clear that he didn't want to sleep next to me. I was trying everything possible to get closer to him, especially since he saved me from my own family. However, I didn't think it was going so well by his reaction to me earlier. I knew that he was just being stubborn and fighting back whatever feelings he had for me. That is, if he truly had any. I stay completely still and try to steady my breathing when he approaches the bed. It was a very difficult task, considering my breathing always intensified when he was near to me. I immediately got a whiff of his masculine scent, which was much more intense tonight for some reason. Just by the way his scent captivated me, I was very aware of how powerful Cassius was. I felt like I was hypnotized by this man, and I wasn't complaining about it. When he pulled the sheet away from my body, I tried not to bite my lip out of nervousness. It was difficult not to shiver because of the room's coolness. However, I forced myself not to move even a muscle. If he knew that I was awake, I was sure that he would simply storm out of the room once more. I was almost certain that Cassius had feelings for me. Why else would he save me when my death would only bring him one step closer to taking over the world? He's been plotting to finish what his father started for years. It's a scary dream of his, but the fact that he was willing to divert from his plans in order to save me had to mean something. I can hardly contain my emotions when I feel his body close to mine. What exactly was he doing? Without warning, he gently places a hand under my head and pulls me against his chest as he snuggles his body against mine. I couldn't believe it. He was cradling me like I would break if he were too rough with my body. I held my breath when he pulled the sheets over both of us and continued to hold me against him. This was the last thing I expected him to do. Why does this not feel like the first time? Has he done this already while I was in a deep sleep? Be calm, Caroline. The last thing you want is for him to find out that you are not asleep. Being this close to him was doing something wonderful to my body. I knew that everyone was terrified of Cassius. He was a psychopath in their eyes, and no one that I knew would dare be this close to him willingly. However, for me, it wasn't like that. I felt safe next to him. In fact, this is the safest I've ever felt. All my life, I've practiced fighting for survival. It was the only way I knew, because of my mom pounding it daily into my head. I was always afraid of what would happen if a Reign succeeded in destroying us all. This was the first time that I felt like a Reign was actually someone I could trust and rely on, and who would take care of me. Life truly was unpredictable at times. The same man I thought would either kill me or be killed was the same man that I would rather die than harm. He was gentle with me, especially when he felt like I was not aware of his actions. He was trying to show me that he didn't care whenever I was awake, but the second he thought I was sleeping, there was a different side to him. I practiced my breathing once more. I didn't want this to end. If I had to pretend to be asleep for the rest of the night so that he could hold me, I planned on doing just that. However, I was not prepared when he gently placed a finger under my chin and tilted my head back. It was even harder to stay still when I knew he was most likely staring at my face. Why was he doing that? My body goes into complete shock when I feel his warm lips on top of mine. I didn't know how much longer I could stay like this. I wanted to wrap my arms around his neck and deepen the kiss. However, that would surely let him know that I was awake. Did I even care at this point? When his hands grip my waist and pull me tighter against his body, I can't stop my immediate reaction to it. My lips part under his, and I can't prevent the moan from escaping my mouth. It was too late now. I just made it very known that I was wide awake. Caroline. Cassius pulls back, and there is this look of darkness that makes my entire body feel like it's about to go up in flames. I've never seen a single man on this planet look at me this way, and it intensifies my desire for him at an alarming rate. I didn't want the kiss to end. I never wanted him to find out that I was awake. I also didn't want him to know just how much I wanted this from him. But right now, it was hard to care about anything else. I wanted to bring him even closer to me. Is this a dream? I whisper, trying to convince him that I thought this truly was a dream. He knew that I'd had dreams about him in the past, which might make it easier to convince him. His eyes glint with a dangerous intensity, giving the unsettling impression that he is already aware of my intentions. I want to kill them. He growls, and it takes me a while to figure out what he speaks about. Could it be my family? Or was he referring to other people that I knew nothing about? I'm startled by the sudden change in the atmosphere. Who? I whisper, still distracted by his lips and how badly I wanted to kiss him again. Why was he not continuing the kiss? What was he waiting for? The ones that hurt you, he growls. I should not have spared them. They should all be at your feet, begging for forgiveness. My lips part slightly. I couldn't believe he was admitting this to me. Was this because he cared about me, or was it just because of his desire to kill? I knew how much killing had made him happy in the past, but I was hoping I had managed to change that part of him. Now I wasn't so sure. They thought that they were doing the right thing, I whisper. They may have taken the wrong approach, but believe me, they are not bad people. They make me seem good, he growls. They hurt you, and you did nothing to deserve that. I could practically see the darkness fuming around him, and could tell that if I didn't act soon, Cassius might very well lose his cool and go after my family. Please listen to me, I beg. I am okay. Nothing bad happened to me. They were never going to kill me. They wouldn't take things that far. Right, he growls. They just wanted to torture you and laugh while you screamed in pain. No, he didn't let me finish, and I was beginning to panic. I wasn't sure what I could do to stop him at this point, and he seemed to be getting angrier by the second. How did things switch to this? 1 minute, he was kissing me, and the next, he was ready to kill. I knew Cassius was unpredictable, but usually, I didn't feel this worried. For some reason, it felt like he had no control over his own body tonight. He runs a finger down my chest. They treated you like an outsider, all because you let a monster like me into your room. They hurt you because of these things. They are bloody weak. I trembled at his words. I didn't need a reminder of the many ways he had pleasured me. Those memories stayed in my head from the second it happened. They never left. They are simply scared of you, I remind him, and they believe that you placed me under a spell. They don't know why I'm suddenly trying to protect you. His gaze softens at my words. Protect me? No one has ever tried to protect me. Everyone has only ever wanted to hurt me. I'm different, I tell him. My intention is not to harm you. I admit, in the beginning, I thought differently, but that was only because I didn't know you that well. He grabbed me by my waist and pulled me on top of him so that I was straddling him. His back is now pressed against the headboard as he tries to steady the both of us. You lie to me, he growls. There is no one that I trust, not even you. Definitely not you. I don't need you to trust me, I whisper. I just need you to allow me to stay by your side. He must think that I'm trying to seduce him to gain his trust. I knew how his mind worked. He would rather believe that I was doing all of this to betray him instead of believing that I actually cared. You can stay by my side for now, but that doesn't change the fact that those people need to suffer for hurting you, he growls. I place both hands on his cheeks and lean my forehead against his. Please don't do it. I'm begging you. They are my family. His breath hitches, and I can tell that he's not happy with my request. I lean forward and press my lips against his neck. His body shivers under my own. I don't stop there as I continue to plant kisses from his neck to all over his chest. Don't, he growls. Cassius. I know if I let this continue, Caroline will have an even more substantial hold on me. But still, even if I tried to sleep with another woman, I knew that it would be of no use. She was the only one my body wanted right now, and it didn't look like that was about to change anytime soon. My desire to be with this woman was turning out to be stronger than any of my previous desires. She was a seductress, and she was a very good one at it. She was using her body to trap me, and it was working even though I hated to admit it. I didn't like the thought of being weak, but I couldn't deny the truth anymore. I was weak when it came to her. I risked everything to protect her from her own family, and now I couldn't stop myself from taking what she was offering me. Caroline's soft body felt amazing against mine. My eyes narrowed, and I could feel the darkness inside of me, ready to take control. No. I had to fight it back to keep her safe from my needs. My hands tighten on her body as I slowly pull out of her, only to push back in harder this time. Caroline cries out, and her voice is like a melody in my ear. However, before I could continue, I got this weird sensation. Something was wrong. I had to get out of here. Caroline. I couldn't believe this. How could he? My body still shivered from the effects of having him inside of me. I felt cold now that his body was not here to keep me warm. I thought I had finally gotten closer to him. I thought that he would have finished what he started with me. Instead, he had done the exact opposite, and I felt betrayed because of it. I look around the room as I angrily put some clothes over my body. I should have known he would have done something like this. Whenever he felt like he was getting too close to me, he always did things like this to pull away. Still, I had managed to get a part of him that I thought I never would. I saw a vulnerable side of him today that I'd never seen before. I knew he was trying his hardest not to make love to me, but I had won this battle. He couldn't resist me, and I enjoyed knowing I had at least that bit of power over him. But was this really something to celebrate? He looked like the kind of man who slept around, and just because this was his first time being that intimate with me, didn't mean that he'd never done so with other women in the past. The thought of him being that intimate, gentle, and so close to another woman made my insides boil. I was positive that he didn't try to run away from them, like he so often did with me. First, he practically sent me back home, only to save me later on and bring me back to his castle. Then he made it seem like there was a chance for us to get closer, and the second that it was happening, he ran off again. I inwardly groaned at how stubborn he was being. For someone with so much power, it surprised me how afraid he was of being intimate with me. The door opens without any warning. If it was Cassius returning after what he'd just done, I had plenty to say to him. My eyes narrowed as I realized he wasn't the person who had just entered my room, even though I was tempted to stay naked to taunt him some more. I was still angry that he had just teleported out of the room in the middle of pleasuring me. I am even angrier when my eyes finally settle on the stranger. She wasn't a stranger at all. I have seen her once before and hated her ever since. That woman, what was she doing here? Did Cassius leave in the middle of making love with me because of her? I felt sick to my stomach just thinking at the possibility of him doing something like that. Did he ask her to come here to take my place? Was being with me intimately so horrible that he felt the need to invite her over? And why was she in the room? Did she purposefully come here to rub it into my face? There was something about her that screamed danger and trouble. Whatever she wanted from me, it couldn't be any good. What did Cassius say her name was again? Hello, Caroline. She greets me as she takes a slow walk around the room like she owns the place. How do you know my name? I ask her suspiciously. I didn't think Cassius would ever have a discussion to her about me. She smiles, showing off her pearly white teeth. Your name is not the only thing that I know, she answers. I know much more than that. I know your family's background. I know what you are capable of. I know your power, and I also know just how important you are to Cassius. My jaw clenched. What do you mean? She couldn't possibly know that we were mates. I was positive that Cassius would have kept this a secret from someone like her. I know that you are his weakness, she says as she grabs me by my chin roughly. Let go of me. I hiss. Your powers are useless against me, she warns. Cassius had these rooms designed so that you can't use plenty of your power. If you try anything stupid, you will die in a second. I will not have any mercy on you. You are only alive because Cassius has no choice but to pity you because of the mate bond. You wouldn't have made it this far otherwise. She was right. I haven't tried using my power in his castle recently since I didn't find a reason to. However, now that I was trying, nothing was happening. Cassius truly did not trust me at all. Why else would he be afraid that I would still use my power after everything? Why exactly are you here? I ask her. I knew she wasn't telling me these things because she was looking for a friend. There was a reason for all of this, and I had to find out what it was. I came to visit the woman who has been taking my man away from me, she says. I wanted to see what was so special about you, but I can see clearly that Cassius would not have even spared you a second look if you weren't his mate. Her words hurt, but I would not allow her to distract me. This couldn't be the real reason. She was here for another reason. Tell me the truth, I shout. A woman like you would not come here for such a petty reason. What is the real reason that you are here in this room right now when Cassius is not around? Cassius! My sisters. Something was wrong with my sisters, and I could feel that their lives were in danger. I didn't want to leave Caroline's side, especially not in the middle of something that intimate, but I didn't have a choice. I needed to get to Autumn and Clarissa before anything happened to them. Without a second thought, I teleport straight into my room. I knew she might be pissed at me for leaving her like that, but this was serious. I wouldn't get a feeling like this for absolutely no reason. I could always tell when my sisters were in danger. These senses inside of me were never wrong about something like that. Since Caroline was in the castle with me, I knew she didn't have a part to play in all of this, but her family was desperate to bring me down. They were most likely pissed that I had entered their territory and taken Caroline away without a single scratch on my body. I knew that must have hurt their pride. In turn, they were most likely trying to use my sisters to get a reaction out of me. I should have thought about this, but I was too busy thinking about Caroline, and it was clouding my vision. I couldn't see anything else but her, and that was dangerous. I've always protected my sisters from afar. There were times they weren't even aware of what I'd done to keep them safe. Now, because of a woman who was meant to be my enemy, I was too distracted to focus on them. Something had to be done about my distraction. I couldn't keep doing things like this, or I would lose the two people I needed the most to fulfill my darkest desires. My fist tightened as I thought about the Ravens and their stupidity to try and mess with me after what occurred earlier. I should have just killed them all on the spot. Now look at me, forced to leave pleasure to deal with those stupid bastards. If I could kill them without Caroline hating me, I would gladly do it. She was the only reason that those people were alive, and they didn't even realize it. I grabbed a weapon from my room, even though I knew I wouldn't need it. However, I was so unprepared lately that I knew the right thing to do was to bring something with me, just in case there were more forces waiting to attack. I fixed my clothes and fought against every bone in my body not to return to the room and finish what I had started with Caroline. This was not the time for that. I had to distract myself before I forgot about my sister's safety. I smashed my hand against the desk and tried to find the inner strength to drag myself away. This was the kind of danger that I was afraid of. I was losing my mind over someone who could snap and kill me in a second. I was making the exact mistake that my father made years ago. He trusted my mother, and she betrayed him. She betrayed him in the worst way possible, like he meant absolutely nothing to her. I was sure if my father could go back in time, he would have never made the mistake of trusting her. That reminder was enough to pull me out of my dangerous thoughts. I couldn't let anyone have this much control over me. I knew what had to be done. I quickly teleport to Autumn and Clarissa's home. I don't bother wasting any time as I search the house for them. When I saw the living room on fire, I knew what the danger was about. Someone had sabotaged their home, and there wasn't anyone inside, except me. Once again, my senses did not fail me. I was connected to Autumn and Clarissa in ways that other siblings were not. I could immediately tell when they needed me, even if they couldn't sense it when I needed them. I let my darkness touch the flames, and I was surprised to learn that this was the work of a witch. I could easily trace it back to the person it belonged to, but I was too concerned about my sisters right now. I had to make sure that neither of them had been injured. I could sense their frustration, and they were definitely near. I don't waste any time. I teleport out of the mansion and find both of them outside, along with the rest of their family. They looked a bit shaken up that someone had entered their home and done damage while they were inside, but other than that, they seemed to be okay. I searched their bodies for any sign of burn marks or any other bruises, but am relieved when I see nothing to be alarmed about. Their mates looked pissed and annoyed, and I could tell that they would not rest until they found out who was responsible for this. Why did someone do such a thing? Was it indeed someone from Caroline's family? Or was there another enemy that I didn't know about? I had to investigate this thoroughly and quickly so that I could return to the woman in my castle who had taken over my mind, body, and soul. I knew that I would be able to find the culprit much faster than my sisters or their husbands could. Caroline would have to wait. Caroline. She was toying with me. I could feel it. Answer me, I hiss. Why are you here? What do you hope to gain from me? She sighs. Why do you have so many questions? She asks lazily. You should learn when it's time to shut that mouth of yours. I have met many women like you who chose not to remain quiet and had their lips burnt because of it. Her threat was not about to scare me. Did Cassius send you? I ask, still worried that she is here to take my place in his bed because he felt like I was not good enough. She chuckles, amused by that question. Oh, sweetheart, she says with an evil glint in her eyes. Are you that insecure? I stiffen at her question. Could she tell why I was asking her that? I'm just trying to figure out why a woman that he clearly didn't want is here right now in this room with me. I snap back. She narrows her eyes. Clearly didn't want? She asks as she laughs. Cassius has f***ed me multiple times a month for the past few years. Do you really think that man doesn't want me? Her words cut through me like a sharp knife. I was aware that she was the same woman who had left that lipstick stain on his face the last time I saw it. I was also aware that he slept around with her. However, hearing her admit it just to taunt me was not a good feeling at all. I wanted her out of here, and I hated that You don't need to look so down, she teases me. I don't respond, and her eyes widen. Don't tell me, she whispers. Has he not even touched you yet? My jaw clenched, and she laughed in my face. All this time, I thought that Cassius was you and not calling me to have socks because of it. I thought that you were getting all of the fun, but now I realize that I was wrong all along. He hasn't been doing anything of the sort with you, which means someone else must have been giving him what I have been withholding. Withholding? She claimed that he didn't call her to sleep with him. Then how could she also claim that she was withholding it from him? Her words contradicted themselves, but I was still annoyed by them. Could she be right? Was he sleeping around with someone else? He wasn't here for me to ask him those questions, and it angered me. I wanted to get to the bottom of this. I knew this should be my last concern, considering my position right now, but I couldn't help but wonder. You know nothing about Cassius and me, I assure her. I will not go into detail about how intimate we have been. That is private. She smiles. Come on, sweetheart. Do not lie to me. You are only quiet because there is simply nothing to tell. He hasn't been intimate with you, and because of that, you have nothing to say. My eye falls on his ripped shirt on the ground. She follows my gaze, and her smile is wiped from her face. That means absolutely nothing. I roll my eyes. Think what you want. Like I said, what I do with Cassius is private and none of your concern. I could tell that I had hit a nerve. She was tired of playing around with me. While this conversation was fun, she says with a fake yawn, it is time for us to go. Us? I'm not going anywhere with you. She sighs. What made you think that you have a choice in this matter? This was the confirmation I needed. Cassius truly didn't send her here. That meant he'd left for a completely different reason and had left me in the dark. I tried once more to use my power on her, but nothing came out of me. Damn it, Cassius. You have left me completely at this woman's mercy. I will be answering all of your questions soon, she whispers as she closes in on me. So do not worry about a thing. You will know everything soon. I grab her by her hair, ready to shove her down to the ground, when someone else covers my face with a wet cloth. She wasn't here alone. She had help with her all along. I don't even bother trying to scream as everything goes dark around me. Cassius! I was successfully able to trace the witch's spell back to an abandoned house in the woods. I didn't like the look of this. Why would someone living in a poor wooden house try to attack my sisters and their family? Someone like this would only take part in something so stupid for money, which meant that the witch in question was not the main culprit. She was working for someone else. I storm into the old, dilapidated house, the already broken wooden door giving way easily without much effort on my part. My heart pounds with anger and urgency as I push forward. My only thought is to conclude this quickly so I can return to Caroline. However, I'm not prepared for the sight in front of me. Someone had gotten to the witch before I could. There was blood everywhere. and her body had already been burnt. What the hell? Whoever was responsible for this already knew that I would be able to easily find this witch. This meant that the person responsible for the fire was trying to get my attention. I was not getting a good feeling about this. It was time to return home. Something told me that I should check on Caroline and make sure that she was safe. If someone wanted to harm me and they knew this much about me, then surely they could tell that Caroline was my current weakness. I knew something was wrong the second I teleported back home. Doors were opened in places they shouldn't be. I knew someone had been here without an invitation. Without a second thought, I teleported straight into Caroline's room. My blood was boiling as I scanned the room. There was no sign of her, and also no sign that she had been taken against her will. However, I didn't need any signs to tell me that someone had taken her. A witch was just here, and I knew exactly which witch would be stupid enough to walk into my home and take something of mine. I'd fallen into her trap. I had no doubt about it anymore. I knew something was suspicious when I felt like my sisters were in danger. However, they were never the real ones I had to worry about. It was all just a distraction so that the witch could kidnap Caroline while I wasn't here. She wasn't crazy enough to attempt something like that in front of me. She knew that she would be dead in a second if she ever did. This was not good. What exactly was her plan? Why did she take Caroline? I didn't think anyone would be stupid enough to break into my place and take something valuable from me. I was proven wrong today, and I didn't like it one bit. I thought Caroline would have been safe here, but it pained me to know that I had made it easier for Lydia to take her. I should have taken her with me the second I sensed that my sisters needed me. However, I was in such a rush to get to them that I thought leaving her behind was the best thing to do. Now I had this aching, guilty feeling in my chest that wouldn't go away. I couldn't waste any time. There was no telling what Lydia had planned with Caroline, and I couldn't wait around to find out. I run a hand down my face. The rage and fear inside of me increased with each second that she was not by my side. Caroline's family was no match for what Lydia could do to her. She was capable of far, much worse. While Caroline's family needed her to be alive, that was not the case for Lydia. She would gladly get rid of her to aid me in my plan to take over everything and everyone around me. I angrily punched the wall in front of me and roared in frustration. I had only just saved Caroline from a dangerous situation, and once again she was in danger, this time even worse than the last. You need to focus. Think. I could easily teleport to wherever Caroline was because of the mate bond and the fact that I had so many things belonging to her with me. However, I had to think of the right way to go about this. Lydia was a tricky witch, and she wouldn't just allow me to enter her home without some traps laid out for me. This is a woman who has been waiting to get closer to me for years. I knew she had hidden intentions, but I didn't care about any of that right now. Making sure that Caroline was safe and out of all danger was my top priority. I couldn't believe I was even admitting something like that to myself, but I would worry about that another time. There was no denying that I would risk everything to save that woman's life. I was done pretending. Now, I had to think of the right way to barge into Lydia's home and take back what she had stolen from me. Caroline, I know that your mate will be here in literally a few minutes to try and save you, Lydia says as she walks around me like a psychopath. If she'd told me this a few days ago, I would have told her that she was wrong and probably laughed in her face. However, after seeing the way that Cassius protected me from my own family and how angry he'd gotten at them for hurting me, I wasn't so sure that he wouldn't show up here today to save me yet again from this crazy woman. Why are you doing all this? I demand. What can you possibly gain from it? As far as I knew, pissing Cassius off was the last thing that anyone in their right mind would ever want to do. However, for some strange reason, this woman didn't seem afraid of him. Instead, she seemed excited that she was messing around with him. She either had a really good plan or was simply insane. Aren't you just a little bit too nosy? She teases me. I clenched my jaw. I hated that I was unable to stop her from hurting me. I wish Cassius hadn't limited my power earlier. Whatever she had around me was also preventing me from doing anything to stop her. She must have learned whatever spell he was already using to hinder me from using my power. I know you want to tell me, I point out. I was hoping that I could somehow lure her into telling me the truth. Someone like you usually enjoys telling their prisoners about their plans. She smiles. You seem to know a lot about people like me. However, I'm not your average witch, sweetheart. I can be even more powerful than Cassius, and you are going to aid me with that. I narrow my eyes. I will never aid you with something like that. She chuckles. I never said that it would be voluntarily. I'm aware that you will never do it if I ask you to, so I'm forced to resort to these kinds of tricks to get what I truly want. Speaking to her was giving me a damn headache. I wanted to reach forward and rip her hair out of her head. How exactly are you going to use me to get what you want? I demand. We both know that Cassius is stronger than you. He is the strongest person that I know. He can kill you in the blink of an eye, and since you are so convinced that he cares for me and would do anything to get me back, why do you think that he would ever let you live after what you did? She sighs. Do you truly think that I'm that stupid? Did she really want me to answer a question like that? It was obvious that I didn't think very highly of her. Was I being too subtle in my dislike for her? The second Cassius gets here, he will try to take you, she answers me. However, if he takes even a step in your direction, your body will explode before his eyes. I am the only person that can stop the explosion from happening. Even Cassius's amazing powers will not be able to save you this time. Explode? What the hell was she speaking about? What did she do while I was unconscious? And how long had I even been unconscious? I don't understand. Why would you go through all of that trouble? I demand. Even if I die, Cassius will still come after you. You will also die, not just me. I'm sure he will make your death a lot more painful than you will make mine. She laughed, but I didn't see the humor in that sentence. What was so funny to her? You don't seem to realize just how much he would sacrifice for you, don't you? She asks me. In all my years of knowing that man, his only weakness was his sisters. But things have changed. You are his new weakness, and he will do everything he can to keep you safe. If you die, that man will turn into a killing machine, and no one will be able to stop him. I didn't know if I should believe her or not. But why was she even telling me this? What was her real intention? What do you plan on doing to him? I demand. This had nothing to do with me. I could tell that now. She just planned on using me to get what she wanted from him. I am about to use you to get him to do everything I've always wanted, she says with a smile. You will no longer be his weakness. I will be the one and only person he cannot live without. I will become the person he will sacrifice everything for, and you will mean absolutely nothing to me. Cassius. I had everything I needed to storm into Lydia's home. I was not about to waste another second, knowing that Caroline needed me. I quickly teleport out of my castle and into the witch's depressing mansion. I hated being here. I knew exactly where to go, considering I'd been here before. I was not proud of it. There were women I was beginning to regret sleeping with in the past. Lydia was definitely one of them. I was foolish for ever allowing someone like her in my life. She knew too much about me, even though I barely spoke any words to her during those visits of hers. She had done her research, and now I had to find a way to get her out of my life for good so that she wouldn't continue to make a mess of everything. I turn the corner and enter the room, killing both guards stationed there with the snap of my fingers. They didn't stand a chance against me, not when I was this pissed and desperate to get Caroline back to safety. I would stop there if I were you. Lydia threatens me. My body gets stiff at her threat. Did she think that just a couple of words were enough to stop me from doing what I came here to do? She was in for a rude awakening. I narrowed my eyes. Now, why would I do such a thing? Even though I was this close to breaking her neck in two, I still waited to hear what she had to say. There was no sign of Caroline around, and I didn't want to kill the witch before I knew for sure that my mate was here. She smiles. I know that the girl is important to you. I know the risks you are willing to take to keep her safe. You know nothing, I growl. The thought of her knowing what she meant to me made me anxious. My number one rule was to never have a weakness, and the second rule was to never let your enemy know your weakness if you were forced to have one. I had failed both rules. She laughs. So then, why are you here, Cassius? If it were anybody else in my captivity, you would have left her here to die. Instead, you've come fully prepared to battle me in order to set her free. My jaw clenched. I need her alive for a certain trade. I lie. Without her, I cannot get my sisters on my side. She needs to come back with me, alive. And for that to happen, I'm willing to take you apart if that is the only option that you are willing to give to me. I knew Lydia was smarter than this, but I wasn't about to admit to her that Caroline was my biggest weakness currently. That was a certain detail that I was inclined to carry to my grave. It was already difficult admitting it to myself. I could never admit it to a bloody, miserable witch like Lydia. I would have easily fallen for that smooth lie in the past, but things are much different now. You have changed, she informs me. I am well aware that even a man as heartless as you are cannot deny something as powerful as the mate bond. You can try to deny it as much as you wish to, but it will not work against me. So she knows. Of course, she did. There would be no other reason for her to kidnap Caroline just to lure me to her. I narrow my eyes. Just tell me where she is, and you will get out of this alive. We will never have to see each other again. I promise you that. However, if you refuse to give her to me, your life will be over in a second. I will not give you a chance to beg. I will take it from you and send your body deep into the dirt. She stood there, her posture relaxed, completely unbothered by the tension in the air. It struck me as unsettling. She should have been trembling in fear at the sight of me, but instead there was a calm confidence in her gaze. It didn't sit right with me. I felt a surge of frustration. Deep down, she knew that I would go to any lengths, sacrificing everything I had to ensure Caroline's safety. That relentless assurance in her gaze highlighted the fact that I had little time to save my mate. It was as if she held all the power at that moment, and I hated that I had become so predictable because of a woman who was once the enemy. I take a step toward her, ready to take her down before she says something else that irritates the hell out of me. If you take another step towards me, your little mate will explode, and parts of her body will splatter everywhere. She warns me, Caroline. I have been completely restless ever since Lydia told me her plan. She didn't go into detail about everything, but it seemed as though she was planning on using me to get Cassius to do exactly what she wanted. All of this was her plan to gain complete control over him. Did Cassius truly care so deeply about me that he would give up everything he stood for to keep me safe? I knew we had gotten closer, but I didn't believe that I had meant so much to him. On the other hand, I knew that I would do plenty to protect him. Even if he wouldn't do the same for me, I would sacrifice a lot to keep him out of danger. Heck, I even destroyed my relationship with my mother because I chose to keep him safe, instead of plotting to kill him like she'd trained me my whole life to do. Lydia truly was a sneaky witch, and I couldn't believe Cassius had slept with someone like her. But then again, he hasn't exactly had the best reputation either. I could see why someone like her would go after someone like him. I bit my nails to stop myself from screaming. If he actually came for me, we would all be doomed. If Lydia takes control over Cassius, she will make him do all the things that I have been trying my hardest to stop him from. I had to find a way to stop her. If Cassius does show up, he might find a way to kill her before she can take control of him. As I sat there, my anxiety gnawed at me, compelling me to dig my nails into my arms. The weight of responsibility hung heavy on my shoulders. The thought of anything happening to Cassius filled me with dread. I couldn't shake off the growing fear that if something went wrong, I would bear the blame. It bothered me that I was not strong enough to stop Lydia on my own. Even though I wasn't exactly trained to kill her, I knew plenty and should have been able to take her down without needing any help from Cassius. Of course, I wasn't completely to blame, considering my power had been restrained due to some kind of powerful spell that both Cassius and Lydia were able to use on me. The door opened suddenly, and two of her guards grabbed me by my arms and pushed me out of the room. "Where are you carrying me now?" I demand. I didn't want to see that stupid witch's face again for the night. They refused to give an answer. Maybe she wanted to taunt me some more. I didn't think Cassius would be here already for me. I was sure that he was probably still trying to figure out who had taken me. The last time I went missing, my family took forever to find me. However, I knew that since Cassius could teleport, it should be much easier for him to get to me. Still, I didn't believe he was here. However, my heart was beating faster than it was just a few minutes ago. It was like my body already knew something that I didn't know. I kept a blank look on my face as they opened another door and once again pushed me into a room. My body falls to the ground, and I wince at the pain in my knees. "Don't even think about it," I hear Lydia say. "If you try to go to her, she will die in the blink of an eye." I look up just in time to see Cassius standing a few feet away from me. His eyes dug into my soul, and I could tell that he was seconds away from losing his mind. For the first time ever, I could see just how much he cared about me. The emotion on his face was too clear for me to deny. He wasn't trying to hide it like he usually did. "What do you want from me?" Cassius growls. I can hear the anger in his voice. "Finally," Lydia says with a smile. "You are finally asking the right question. What do I want?" "Just answer the question," Cassius growls. "Then, when I give you what you are asking for, I need you to let Caroline go without a scratch. If even a strand of hair on her head is hurt, the deal is off." Lydia looks annoyed that he cares that much about me. However, I knew that getting him to do everything she wanted was more important to her than her jealousy. She gestures subtly, her hands slicing through the air, calling one of her guards to approach. The guard, clad in polished armor that glints as he moves, steps forward with a grim face, ready to respond to her silent command. "Caroline!" The guard drops a bottle of pink liquid onto the palm of Lydia's hand. I'd never seen anything like it before. Cassius, on the other hand, seemed to recognize it right away. I could tell by the way his shoulders tensed. Whatever it was, he knew what it meant for him. "This," Lydia says as she lifts the bottle so that we can get a better view of it. "I want you to drink every last bit of it." Was it some kind of potion? It had to be. Maybe whatever that bottle had in it was what Lydia needed to gain control over Cassius. "And do not get any funny ideas," she warns him. "If you do, I will kill the girl right in front of your eyes. I don't care that you would kill me right after. I have never feared death, but I know that you fear losing her a lot more than you even fear losing your sisters." I couldn't believe she just said that to him. Cassius's sisters were everything to him. Surely, I wasn't more important to him than they were. Lydia was getting ahead of herself and needed a reality check. "What will that liquid do to him?" I demand. I wasn't about to just sit back and let him take it. I didn't care that my life was in danger. All I cared about at this moment was keeping Cassius away from that psychopath. My family was so crazy about getting rid of Cassius when in reality they should be getting rid of witches like Lydia. That woman posed a real threat to everyone's lives. If she gains control over Cassius, there is no telling what she had planned for us all. "Even though your life is in my hands, you're still somehow too nosy for your own good, don't you think?" she asks me with a twinkle in her eyes. She was enjoying this. She knew that she had the upper hand for once, and it made her feel like she was on top of the world. "What is that liquid going to do to him?" I demand for the second time. "Why do you want him to drink from it?" Lydia looks at Cassius and smiles. "Do you want to explain to her what this is, or would you like me to go ahead and do the honors for you?" Cassius narrows his eyes, but does not say a word. Lydia sighs and twirls the bottle around in her fingers. "This is a very special potion, one that I have been working on for a very, very long time. I always thought that I would have to force Cassius to take it, or maybe hide it in his food or drink. However, because of you, Caroline, I am finally given the opportunity to have Cassius take it of his own free will." She was speaking in circles. Why could she not just answer me? The fact that she had been working on this for a long time meant that this had always been her plan. She was simply waiting for the right opportunity, and because of me, she finally had it. "Can't you just say what it is meant for?" I ask. "You are the one that talks too much." She rolls her eyes. "Well, since you are that desperate to find out and your mate doesn't seem to want to answer the question, I guess I have no choice but to tell you myself. I wait anxiously for her to give an explanation. After what felt like an eternity, she finally opens her mouth as she says, "The potion in my hands is a little something called a love potion. I am sure that even someone as dumb as you know what a love potion is used for." My body tenses at her words. I could feel all the color drain from my cheeks. No, this couldn't be. A love potion? Why the hell did she want him to drink a love potion? That was a stupid question. It is apparent that she would want to use a love potion on him. Nothing would work as sufficiently as a love potion. This was insane. Cassius wasn't actually considering taking that, was he? "You cannot be serious about this," I demand. "You have completely lost your mind." She laughs, and it sends a chill down my spine. This woman was the definition of evil. The more I knew about her, the more I wanted to get Cassius away from her. "What are you going to do?" she asks him, completely ignoring me. "Will you take this love potion in my hand, or will you let the girl die? The choice is all yours, Cassius. You do not have much time to think about it. If you do not answer me in 5 minutes, she will be gone." Cassius. 4 minutes. It was all I had left to make a decision. If I didn't drink the love potion, I would have to watch Caroline die in front of me at the hands of this witch. On the other hand, if I drank the potion, I would be at the mercy of Lydia for possibly the rest of my life, or until someone was able to break the spell. "Time is running out, Cassius," Lydia warns me. She already knew the decision I would make. Even I already knew that my mind was made up. "Cassius," Caroline gasps. "Please do not listen to her. I would rather die than watch you be at the mercy of someone like her. She would use you to do her dirty work. You would do unforgivable things because of her, and no one would be able to stop you, not even yourself." I knew how a love potion worked. I didn't need Caroline to warn me of the negative impact it would have on me. Even though she would prefer to die than to watch that happen to me, this decision was not up to her. It was totally up to me. "If I drink this, you need to promise me that you will let Caroline go. While I am under your command, promise me that you will not harm her in any way. If you do, the spell will automatically be broken, and our deal will be void." "Do not do it," Caroline begs. "You cannot let her take control over you." She makes an attempt to come to me, but I push my darkness toward her, blocking her from even attempting to stop what is about to happen. "You have my word." I didn't just want the witch's word. I knew that she couldn't be completely trusted. If I went under her command, there was even a chance that she would order me to hurt Caroline. I knew how sneaky she was, and I couldn't just blindly accept her offer without doing something of my own to ensure my mate's safety. I could hear Caroline still screaming for me to stop. She was getting more desperate as she sensed the deal was about to go down. She couldn't see since the darkness was blocking her, and I knew that was the best thing for the both of us right now. I couldn't have her distracting me. This was about her safety, and nothing would ever stop me from keeping her safe. I grab Lydia by her neck and roughly pull her closer to me. "Your word means nothing to me." "Then what do you want me to do if you don't want to believe me?" she demands. I let go of her neck and grab her hand. I don't waste any time as I pull out the dagger from my jacket and slice her palm before doing the same to mine. "What the hell do you think you are?" I press both of our bleeding hands together. "If you harm Caroline in any way, either from your own hands or possibly someone else's, our deal will be broken immediately. For this to work, you have to keep her safe even if you don't want to." Her eyes widen. She knew that she could never hurt Caroline after this unless she wanted to lose all power over me. The choice would be hers to make. This was the only way for me to drink the potion and not have to worry about her. It was the only way that I could put my mind at ease about this entire thing. "You stupid asshole." Lydia begins to hiss at me, upset that I had forced her to make a blood oath with me. I didn't wait for her to say anything else as I grabbed the potion from her hand and drank it down in one go. I could already feel the effects beginning to take over my body. I knew that all I had left was a minute or two before I fell hopelessly in love with Lydia. Of course, the love would be completely fake, but that didn't mean anything at all. She would still control me. I would not be able to think or act on my own. I rushed over to Caroline's side at the last minute. Her cheeks were covered with tears, and her eyes were already swollen. I hated seeing her like this. I pulled her into my arms, even though it would prove to Lydia just how strong of a hold Caroline had on me. What was I even worried about? The fact that I had chosen to drink the potion in order to save her was enough to show how much she meant to me. Holding Caroline was the last thing I remembered before everything went dark around me. All my plans, everything. It was all over. All because of a woman that was once my enemy. Caroline! He'd taken the potion for me. All this time, I kept wondering if my plan was working and whether or not Cassius cared for me at all. Now I knew that he cared more than anyone else had ever done for me in my entire life. Even my own mother wouldn't sacrifice herself like that to save my life. He tried making me believe that I wasn't important to him. All this time, he was only pushing me away because he didn't want to get closer to me. He saved me from my family, and now he saved me from this crazy witch who was no doubt going to take my life if he didn't drink the potion. This was huge. For someone as dangerous and supposedly heartless as Cassius, he'd just done the most selfless deed I'd ever seen anyone do for anyone else. He knew if he agreed to take the potion, he would lose control of his life. Cassius has spent years working on taking over the world. He has always had complete control over every aspect of his life, and now he is at the mercy of a psychopath. And it was all because of me. All of this was my fault. He would have been better off if I hadn't entered his life. All of these things were only happening because he was trying to protect me. I didn't think it was possible for me to fall more in love with Cassius Reign, but life taught me that things didn't always go the way you planned. I can't stop the tears from falling as I continue to hold on to his unconscious body. He came to me right before the spell could take over. So pathetic, Lydia says as she rolls her eyes. You are lucky he forced me to take that blood oath, or you would be dead already. He forced her to take a blood oath. I wasn't able to see or hear much since he had blocked my view with his power. It was his way of protecting me and also preventing me from interfering. He made sure to put things in place to keep me safe even after drinking the potion. He knew that Lydia would still possibly harm me and thought of a way to stop her from doing it while he was under her horrible spell. You will not get away with this, I promise her. I will find a way to break the spell. I will not let you win. She laughs. I'm afraid I have already won the battle. The moment he wakes up, he will forget all about his feelings for you. All the memories will be there, but it will mean absolutely nothing. My heart aches at her words. I didn't like the idea of Cassius no longer treating me the way that he did. I had gotten accustomed to having him near me and always looking out for me, even at times when I didn't know about it. All spells are meant to be broken, I remind her. You may have won now, but not in the long run. She rolls her eyes. I hate that I cannot harm you in any way. I definitely can't let you go now that I know you will try everything possible to break the spell. Even though I can't harm you, that doesn't mean that I have to let you go freely to do as you please. Of course, she would want me trapped here where she can monitor my every movement. What she didn't know was that I would be happy being here, since that meant I would be closer to Cassius. I knew it would be difficult seeing him act all crazy in love with someone else, but I would rather force myself to see that than not be around him at all. It doesn't matter what you do, I promise her. You cannot stop me from getting Cassius back and freeing him from your spell. She sighs. I have already practiced with other men. Cassius does not stand a chance against that spell, and you certainly do not possess the skills or power to break it. You should know by now that Cassius is not like other men. Even if you tested it on a powerful wizard, it would be nothing compared to Cassius Reign. He is much stronger than most men that I know. I remind her. She sighs. I can see that it is no use speaking to you. In time, we would both be able to tell who knew what they were speaking about today. She motions for the guards to take me back to one of the rooms, and I am forced to do nothing as they drag my body away from Cassius. I promise you, I will bring you back. I will not let Lydia take you from me. I promise. Autumn Fawn. I could sense that something was wrong. I've never felt this way in the past, and maybe it was happening for the first time because it was the first time that my brother had ever been in any real danger. I wasn't sure yet what had happened, but whatever it was, he might need my help. You feel it also, don't you? Clarissa asks me as she barges into the living room. I nod as I hold my chest to stop the constant stabbing pain. Cassius is in danger. We need to find out who has hurt him and why. He has many enemies, Clarissa reminds me. However, I think Willow's mother is the first person to question. We know how pissed they were that he came into their territory and took Caroline back to his castle. I am sure that they are most likely responsible for whatever has happened to him. She was right. It hasn't been that long since we visited Willow's family's home. We heard all of their plans to try and get Caroline back, and each of them involved hurting our brother. He is extremely powerful, I say. He was able to walk into their territory without any problems and also leave with Caroline unharmed. Who could have possibly hurt him? Her gaze snaps to mine. Do you think Caroline was possibly faking everything and, after gaining his trust, found a way to hurt him? She is the one closest to him right now. She possesses the power to harm him. I understood why Clarissa would come to that conclusion. It was true that Caroline's background and the fact that she had found a way to get closer to my brother made it very easy for her to hurt him, but I still wanted to believe that she was truthful when she asked for our help to save him. I don't think she would hurt him, I admit. I could be wrong, but I would like to believe her when she said that she wanted to save him. She went against her family to protect him as well. Let us not jump to any conclusions. I am sure that there is another explanation for the way that we are feeling right now. Clarissa nods. You are right. I just hope that whatever has happened to him, we will be able to help or at least find him in time. I agreed with her. I didn't know how long I could go without knowing what was wrong with my brother. We haven't gotten the chance to be there for him in all these years, and the few times we saw him, we were on the opposite side. I wanted more than anything to embrace him and tell him how much I loved him. I wanted to let him know that I never planned on giving up on him and that I believed there was still good inside of him. I had so much to say to him. Hopefully, I will have the opportunity soon to tell him everything. Caroline. 2 days have passed since Cassius drank the potion in order to save me from Lydia. I was knocked unconscious for a day, and I think it was to remove whatever nonsense the witch had placed inside my body the first time she knocked me out. She made a blood oath with Cassius to protect me and had to stick with it if she wanted their deal to work. I still felt lightheaded from all of the crying. I knew I had to stop. I couldn't focus on anything if the crying continued. In order to help Cassius, I had to be strong for both of us. The door opens suddenly, and I'm not happy when Lydia walks into the room with a bright smile on her face. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? She asks as she strolls around the room. There was absolutely nothing beautiful about today. She was the only one who seemed to be having a good time. How have you been? She asks. It must be boring being locked up in a room all the time like this. Why are you here? I demand. I would have a much better day if I didn't have to see your face. She laughs, not bothered at all by my words. Why would she be bothered? Everything was going her way. I wanted to show you my project, she says. It's a successful project, I might add. My jaw clenched. I knew she was speaking about Cassius. I wasn't sure if I was prepared to see him under her full command. My heart would ache to have to witness something like that. However, I knew that Lydia was not about to give me a choice in this matter. One way or the other, I had to prepare myself for the worst. Caroline, Cassius, Lydia calls. Come in here for a minute. A knot of anxiety twisted in my stomach as I watched the door creak open, each slow movement heightening my unease. My heart raced. I could barely breathe as dread pooled in my chest. This was not happening. I looked away, hoping to convince myself that the man on the other side of that door would somehow disappear and come back as the Cassius I once knew. But deep down, I knew I was about to witness something I fervently wished to avoid today. There was nothing I could do to stop it from transpiring. The man I was in love with and who sacrificed himself to save me is now standing at the entrance. He is dressed in a black suit that Lydia must have picked out for him. His hair is pushed back neatly, and I know she may have styled it. She was already treating him like a dressed-up doll. She was doing whatever she pleased. He still looked as handsome as ever, but I could already tell that he was completely under her control. His gaze was on her, only her, and he wasn't even sparing me a glance. "You called, my love," he says in a tone that someone would only use if they were at the complete mercy of someone else. "Yes," she whispers with a bright smile. "I wanted to ask you a few questions. Will you answer them for me?" He nods. "Anything for you, my love." It felt so strange seeing and hearing Cassius behave this way. Anyone would be able to tell that something was wrong with him. Lydia had turned him into her toy to play with as she pleased. "Who do you care about the most in this world?" she asks him. What was the point of this? She clearly was trying to intentionally make him feel worse. "You are," he answers her. "My love." Would he call her my love after every sentence? Was that something she told him to do? "And who do you love the most?" she asks. "I love you the most, Lydia," he answers her. My heart squeezed tightly. I knew that this wasn't him speaking. It was the spell, but that didn't make it easier to hear him say it. "And will you do whatever I ask you to do?" she asks. He gently took her hand in his, and I felt a sharp pain in my heart. "I will do everything you ask me to. Your wish is my command. I am forever completely yours." The more I listened, the more I felt sick to my stomach. She was doing too much already, and it hadn't been that long since Cassius had drunk that stupid love potion. A part of me was hoping that he was strong enough to overcome it, but so far, the spell had him under its control. He would definitely need a lot of help to break it. "You certainly know what to say to make a woman's heart melt, don't you?" she whispers as she runs a hand down his chest. In the past, Cassius would be so concerned about me that he wouldn't even give someone like Lydia his attention. I knew I would have to learn to get used to this until I found a way to bring him back to me. "I only speak the truth, my love," he answers her. "I will do anything for you. Just ask, and I will deliver." I wanted to scream for him to stop, to beg him to remember me. But did he truly forget all about me? How did that love potion work? I believe Lydia mentioned that he would still have all of his memories, but they would mean nothing to him. Maybe if I tried to push myself closer to him, he would be able to regain some control. At the end of the day, Lydia was not his mate. I was. The real connection would always be with me, even though Cassius couldn't feel it right now as a result of Lydia's evil plan. "Oh, really?" Lydia asks seductively as she continues to touch him. I wanted to push her hand away, but I was still at her mercy. "Yes, my love." She looks over at me with a mischievous glint in her eyes as she says, "Then kiss me. Show me how much you love me with a passionate kiss that proves what I mean to you." "No," I gasp, unable to stop myself. "Do not kiss her." Cassius doesn't even register my words. It's like I hadn't even spoken. I watch in horror as he grabs her by the waist and covers her lips with his. His mouth was hungry as he kissed her like she was the last person on the planet. I remembered when he used to kiss me like that. Now, I had to watch him do it to another woman. No, everything hurt inside of me. I couldn't keep this up. It was too painful. I didn't know how much more of this I could take.